Привет, мои товарищи! I'm Comrade Vadim. Thanks for checking out the video. I got another great one for you. We're going to do a little head-to-head battle between an American-made shotgun and a Russian-made shotgun. Eduardo here is going to help us out today, but I don't think he'll be smiling at the end of it. Let's check out what guns we got. All right, on the American side, we have the Browning A-5. The A stands for auto. It's the first successfully made semi-auto shotgun. It was designed by John Browning in 1898. And it was in production for almost 100 years. This model is from the 60s, maybe early 70s, and this will be representing our Americans for today. Now representing the Russian side is the Baikal MP-153. This was designed by Alexander Dorf in the late 90s, 1990s. This specific one is from 2004. Something interesting about the Baikal is it was actually sold to the American market advertised or refaced as the Remington Spartan 453. So you may have one of these as a Remington instead of a Baikal. All right, we got 3 loaded up in the MP-153. Let's see how it shoots. Yeah, I don't think Eduardo is gonna be doing too good at the end of this. Now that we've seen what the Russians can do, let's see what the Browning A-5 for the Americans can do. Poor Eduardo.
Let's talk about the 3 different types of shotguns used currently. So the first and the most simple type is breakaway or break action shotguns. I don't have one personally, but as the name implies, the shotgun breaks apart. And so you have the receiver and then you have the barrel, and those break apart. You're able to put a shotgun shell into the barrel, close it back up, and shoot the round. There's no automatic feeding, there's no ejecting the shell, there's no nothing. After you've shot, you open it back up and you take the shell out. Then you put a new one in, close it up, shoot. It's very slow, but it's very robust. Not very many moving parts in there, so there's very minimal things to go wrong, which is very nice. This is a Browning I have that's a pump action, and as the name implies, and that many of you probably know, you have to pump it. So, as you're firing, you will go through, mine happens to be feeding through the bottom here, you'll go fire the round, nothing will happen, except, of course, it shoots, but no shell will eject. You then have to cycle this, which will then eject the shell and load the next one up. And you can continue to do that as many times as you shoot and as many times as you have shells. It's a little bit more complex, a lot more moving parts, but it's still very simple. This doesn't care about the type of round or the type of shell that you put in it in terms of the amount of powder and gas that it produces, because there's still no ejection feature. You're still doing that part manually. However, to compare that to the shotguns we're looking at today, they are semi-automatic. And that, of course, means that as you shoot one shell, it automatically will go through and eject the shell and load in the new round. So you'll shoot, it will blow back through the gases in the recoil system, eject the shell, load a new one up from the magazine, and then you're ready to shoot again with minimal user input. Of course, there's a lot more that can go wrong here. Particularly, you have to be very conscientious of the amount of gas that the shell that you're shooting produces, because that's what actually operates the system that ejects the shell and feeds the new one in. So if you have an underpowdered round, or shell in this case, or maybe a different type, so birdshot versus buckshot versus slugs, all of these things can kind of change how the recoil system works. So from different shotgun to shotgun that's semi-automatic, you may have to go in and change the internal features to make sure that when you're changing from shell to shell that it still works properly. So let's talk a little bit more about the design of both of these guns. I have the Baikal here, but both of them are very similar because the Browning A-5 really set the standard for all semi-auto design moving forward, and you can really see a lot of the Browning A-5 in many of the modern shotguns. But if you're unfamiliar with the shotguns, you have the magazine here. It's actually a tube magazine. Many of them have little limiters in them based on hunting regulations that limit the capacity of the magazine. But you can also remove those if you're not doing hunting. Of course, check your local regulations before you listen to me. But that's the magazine. It then feeds in through here and it pushes up into the bolt, which then gets fed into the barrel by the bolt carrier here. Then, of course, it just acts like a regular gun. You pull the trigger over there, shoots the firing pin, gases go off, it expands, shoots the bullets out or the pellets out, and then you get the recoil, it ejects the shell, and feeds a new one in. Really plain and simple. One really interesting thing about both of these guns that differ is the safety. Most modern day safeties will be this little pin right there behind the safety, and you push it side to side based if you want it on safe or on fire. However, the Browning A-5 has the notoriously named unalive safety because instead of being the button right here, you actually have a little switch located on the front of the trigger guard that you have to push forward to bring it into fire mode, which puts your finger right where you would then put it back on the trigger. So many people, there's been a couple instances where you push that trigger forward, you push the safety forward to put it on fire. You're not quite ready to fire. You bring your finger back and you hit the trigger there, and boom, it goes off. So just something interesting there. Besides that, both of these shotguns are very, very similar, and they're just a lot of fun to shoot, easy to operate, and simple designs. That's enough talking. Let's go see some slow-mo of these bad boys.
All right, we're gonna try and do some clay shooting with these and see how they compare. So we'll load up some clays and see if we can't shatter a few. So far we've been shooting birdshot, which means it's just little BBs inside there that get splattered on there. You can see it from the target. One interesting thing about the Browning A-5, it has some recoil rings in there that you have to adjust depending on the type of shot you have. So one negative of the Browning is that you have to sit there, if you want to go from birdshot to slugs, change the internal recoil system so that it can handle it properly. The nice thing about the Baikal is that it requires none of that. So we got 3 slugs loaded up in here. We have a new target down there, and let's see how the slugs affect the target compared to the birdshot. So instead of having the wide spread like we did on the birdshot, you have large slugs going in. I think one of these is a slug, and then one of these is the little plastic cap that goes in there. And as you can see from this range, it has, even the plastic has enough power to go through this cardboard. The other interesting thing about these shotguns is most shotguns that are made for 3-inch or 2 3/4 inch shells. So what we've been shooting today have all been 2 3/4. However, the Baikal is actually made for up to 89mm, is what they call for over in Russia, since they're not on the Freedom moon landing units. But 89 mils goes to 3.5 inches. So you can see the difference in size here that the Baikal can handle. So let's get loaded up some 3.5 inch shells and see how those feel compared to the 2 3/4. All right, here we go. Those kick a lot harder.
So what do I think about both these guns? Well, let me tell you first of all, they're both a ton of fun to shoot. The Browning A-5, very historic, very cool to look at and see how it operates. All of the design features that John Browning made on the 1898 version, and looking at those and seeing how they're still incorporated in modern day semi-automatic shotguns, it's crazy to see how far ahead of his time he was and how intricate those designs are that they can still be used today. The Baikal, a lot of fun as well. A lot more simplistic, some more safety features, a lot more ergonomic, but with 100 more years of engineering behind it, that's kind of what you expect. So you can't give them too many points on that, but it is a lot of fun. Both of them feel great in your hands. They operate well. However, the Baikal is a lot more simple in that you can just chuck whatever round you want through it. You have a lot more diversity in the shells that you can go from 2 3/4 up to 3 1/2. You don't have to go and change the friction rings or the recoil rings inside to change from birdshot to slugs or to whatever you want. So it is a lot more fun to just chuck in the back of the truck, chuck some shells in there, not have to worry about what they are, and go have some fun. Whereas the Browning A-5, you really do have to think about that. That way it can operate well. You still have the power to recoil, or you're not slamming it back against it. So a couple points off there. So overall, in my opinion, the Baikal wins. But both of these guns are a lot of fun. Add them to your arsenal if you see them. The Browning A-5, once again, a lot of history. The Baikal, really cool. One of the few Russian firearms we have here in the States. Of course, you can go get it as the Remington Spartan 453 as well. And then you have some fun facts about it to tell your friends that, hey, this is actually a Russian-made shotgun. So, anyway, let's go check out the last portion of this video.
All right, we're gonna end the video off with some long distance sharpshooting with the shotgun. Got some slugs loaded in here, but I appreciate you checking out the video. Like and subscribe so that you can see some more. There we go.